The humans stood before the Galactic Council, their muscles bulging, eyes wild with fury and bloodlust, veins pulsing as if they would burst from their skin. The council chamber quaked with tense murmurs and fearful whispers. Human adrenaline was real. Darren Powell, his face riddled with scars, uniform bloodied, stood alone and defiant against the council. The semicircle of towering podiums, each with its own alien ambassador, surrounded him. The room was vast, dimly lit. Shadows flickered ominously across inhuman faces. The Xindi ambassador rose, thin and pale blue, eyes sharp yellow slits. He accused the humans of illegal stimulant use during a recent battle. The humans had fought like crazed berserkers. They must have used performance-enhancing drugs. "Bullshit!" Darren shouted, fists clenched. "We don't need drugs to fight. What you saw was pure human adrenaline surging through our veins. It's what we're made of." Shocked gasps rippled through the chamber. The Xindi hissed. Other alien representatives shifted uneasily. The council's chief scientist, a squat green reptilian named Novak, leaned forward. Spikes bristled around his skull. "Adrenaline? What exactly is this substance you speak of, human?" Novak asked. "It sounds like quite the biological weapon." Darren glared at the council, jaw clenched. Human lives hung in the balance. These aliens thought humans weak, inferior, unable to compete on a galactic scale. He needed to make them understand humanity's true strength, grit, and power that flowed through their blood, their very biology, their adrenaline. If he failed here, the council could deem humans too dangerous, unstable, uncontrollable. They could cut humanity off from the stars, quarantine them on Earth, stagnate and oppress them, even wipe them out as a threat. Darren had to convince the council that human adrenaline wasn't an illegal weapon, but a natural part of their biology and fighting spirit. The chamber's air hung thick with tension. A single human against the assembled galactic races. The future of humanity would be decided here and now, by the truth and power of human adrenaline. Darren stood before the Galactic Council, unflinching, unwavering, his face hard and chiseled. He spoke with power and conviction. "You want to know what adrenaline is? I'll tell you. It's a hormone. Produced by the human body in times of danger, excitement, stress. It makes us faster, stronger, heightens our senses, and pushes us beyond our limits." Novak leaned forward, reptilian eyes gleaming with intrigue. "A demonstration then, human. Show us this adrenaline in action." The council chamber shimmered and transformed. Holographic projectors hummed to life, painting a vivid simulation. The recent battle between humans and Xindi. Darren now stood at the center, fully geared for combat. Xindi warriors surrounded him, energy weapons drawn. The simulation surged to life. Darren exploded into motion, a whirlwind of speed and ferocity. He ducked under sizzling energy blasts, vaulted over barriers, engaged the Xindi hand-to-hand, all furious strikes and raw power. The Xindi crumpled before him. Darren was an unstoppable force. The gathered council members watched in stunned disbelief, eyes wide. In moments, it was over. The simulation flickered out. Darren stood tall among the defeated Xindi, breathing hard, adrenaline still pumping through his veins. He turned to the council, gaze fierce and proud. That is human adrenaline. It's not some drug or stimulant. It's part of us, part of our biology, and who we are. The Xindi ambassador shot to his feet, face twisted in outrage. He slammed a fist on his podium, the bang echoing through the chamber. "This is unacceptable. The humans have an unfair biological advantage. They must be prohibited from future military engagements." The council erupted. Dozens of alien representatives yelled and argued, the room filling with a cacophony of angry voices. Novak raised his hands, calling for silence. "We cannot decide based on one display. Further study is required. I suggest a series of evaluations to ascertain this human adrenaline's full capabilities." Reluctantly, the council agreed. Darren was commanded to submit to an onslaught of grueling physical and mental tests, all under Novak's cold supervision. As he exited the council chamber, Darren's stomach knotted with unease. This was just the start, the beginning of a bitter struggle ahead. A fight not only for himself, but the future of humanity itself. A battle in which adrenaline may be their greatest weapon, and their only hope. Days turned into weeks, as Darren endured an endless barrage of tests within the stark, sterile confines of the research facility. Novak and his team pushed him to his limits and beyond, constantly monitoring his vital signs and brain activity. They sent him hurtling through elaborate obstacle courses, pitting him against fearsome simulated foes, and bombarding him with perplexing puzzles that strained his mental faculties to their breaking point. Darren's heart hammered in his chest, adrenaline surging through his veins as he ducked, weaved, and fought his way through each grueling challenge. Sweat poured down his face, muscles burning with exertion, but he refused to yield. He would show them the true strength of the human spirit. Novak watched from the observation deck, his reptilian eyes gleaming with an almost manic intensity. The more he witnessed Darren's adrenaline-fueled feats, the more consumed he became with unraveling its secrets. He pored over the data, obsessing over every spike in Darren's hormone levels, every fluctuation in his neural activity. But while Novak was lost in his scientific fervor, the Sindhi ambassador seethed with resentment. He paced his quarters like a caged beast, fury building with each passing day. The Council's decision to allow further study of the human's adrenaline was a blow to his pride and a threat to Xindi supremacy. In the shadows, he plotted his revenge. With a few whispered commands and a substantial bribe, he set his plan into motion. A team of elite Xindi infiltrators, their movements whisper quiet and their weapons primed for destruction, slipped into the research facility undetected. Darren, his senses sharpened to a razor's edge by the constant flow of adrenaline, felt a prickle of unease as he completed yet another punishing test. Something was wrong. The air was too still, the silence too heavy. Then chaos erupted. The infiltrators burst into the main testing chamber, energy weapons blazing. Darren reacted on pure instinct, diving for cover as searing bolts of plasma scorched the air around him. His heart raced, adrenaline flooding his system, time seeming to slow as he assessed the situation with preternatural clarity. He was outnumbered and outgunned, but he was far from helpless. Darren let his body take over, let the adrenaline guide his every move. He lunged from cover, a blur of speed and agility, closing the distance between himself and the nearest Xindi in a heartbeat. They clashed in a flurry of blows, Darren's enhanced reflexes allowing him to dodge and weave around the Xindi's strikes. He countered with a series of rapid-fire punches and kicks, each one fueled by the raw power of his adrenaline-charged muscles. Novak, drawn by the commotion, stumbled into the fray, his eyes widening in horror as he realized the gravity of the situation. Stray energy blasts sizzled past him, the acrid scent of ozone filling the air. He had been so focused on his research, so consumed by the allure of human adrenaline, that he had failed to consider the dangers it might attract. As the battle raged around them, Darren and Novak were forced into an uneasy alliance, the scientist's survival now dependent on the very subject he had been studying. Darren fought with a savage intensity, his every movement a testament to the power of human adrenaline, while Novak did his best to stay out of the way and avoid the deadly crossfire. The facility shuddered under the onslaught, walls crumbling and equipment sparking as the infiltrators pressed their attack. Darren knew they were running out of time. He had to end this, and fast. With a roar of defiance, he launched himself at the Xindi commander, the leader of the infiltration team. They met in a clash of flesh and bone, trading blows with a ferocity that shook the very foundations of the room. Darren felt the adrenaline surging through him like a raging torrent, felt it fueling his every strike, every dodge, every countermove. He was a force of nature, unbridled and unstoppable, the very embodiment of human tenacity and strength. The Xindi commander was a formidable foe, his own skills honed by a lifetime of combat, but even he was no match for the sheer power of Darren's adrenaline-enhanced abilities. With a final devastating blow, Darren sent the commander crashing to the ground, the fight over as quickly as it had begun. As the dust settled and the last of the infiltrators were subdued, Darren stood tall amidst the wreckage, his chest heaving and his body thrumming with the after-effects of the adrenaline rush. Novak, battered but alive, looked upon him with a newfound respect and understanding. Together they had survived the Xindi ambassador's treachery, had exposed his plot and defeated his forces. But Darren knew that this was only the beginning, that the true battle for humanity's place in the galaxy was far from over. And as he stood there, surrounded by the chaos and destruction of the ruined facility, he couldn't help but feel a sense of grim satisfaction. For he knew that as long as humanity had adrenaline coursing through their veins, they would never stop fighting, never stop pushing the boundaries of what was possible. They would face whatever challenges the universe threw at them, and they would emerge stronger, faster, and more determined than ever before. The power of human adrenaline had been unleashed, and the galaxy would never be the same. The council chamber erupted in a cacophony of voices as Darren and Novak presented their evidence. Holographic displays flickered to life, revealing the Xindi ambassador's treachery in vivid detail. The council members watched in stunned silence as the damning recordings played out before them. "This is an outrage," the Xindi ambassador shouted, his voice cracking with desperation. "These accusations are baseless. The humans have clearly fabricated this evidence to undermine our position on the council." But his protests fell on deaf ears. The evidence was irrefutable. The council turned to the Xindi, their faces etched with disgust and anger. "Ambassador, your actions have brought shame upon your people and this council," the chief counselor said, his voice heavy with disappointment. "The Xindi are hereby stripped of their seat and will face severe sanctions for their treachery." The Xindi ambassador slumped in his seat, his face twisted with rage and defeat. Darren stood tall, his adrenaline still pumping from the recent battle. The council turned to him, their expressions a mix of awe and respect. "Darren Powell, your bravery and dedication have saved countless lives and exposed a great injustice," the chief counselor said. "The council has decided to entrust you with a new mission of vital importance to the galaxy's future." He gestured to a holographic star map that materialized in the center of the chamber. In the far reaches of the galaxy, a new and mysterious threat has emerged. We have received reports of a technologically advanced and ruthless alien race known as the Void Wraiths. Your mission is to lead a joint human-alien task force to investigate this threat and protect the galaxy from any danger it may pose. Darren nodded, his jaw set with determination. He turned to Novak, who had been uncharacteristically quiet throughout the proceedings. "Novak, I know we've had our differences, but I could use your expertise on this mission. What do you say? Will you join the task force as our chief scientist?" Novak's eyes gleamed with a mix of excitement and trepidation. "I must admit, my curiosity about human adrenaline is far from satisfied. I believe this mission will provide ample opportunities to further my research. I accept your offer, Darren." As they prepared for their mission, Darren and Novak found themselves constantly at odds. Darren's instincts and adrenaline-fueled tactics clashed with Novak's methodical, scientific approach. The tension between them was palpable, and the crew could feel it. Their first encounter with the Void Wraiths put their differences to the ultimate test. The alien ships, sleek and deadly, emerged from the void of space, their cloaking technology rendering them nearly invisible. They ambushed Darren's ship, energy weapons blazing. Darren's heart raced as he took the helm, his adrenaline surging through his veins. He executed a series of daring maneuvers, narrowly evading the enemy's attacks. The ship shuddered under the onslaught, alarms blaring and sparks flying from damaged consoles. In the chaos of the battle, Novak worked frantically to analyze the Void Wraith's technology. His eyes widened as he discovered a weakness in their cloaking system. "Darren," he shouted over the din of the battle, "I've found a way to penetrate their cloaks. If we can modify our weapons to emit a specific frequency, we can hit them." Darren gritted his teeth, sweat pouring down his face as he pushed the ship to its limits. "Do it, Novak, we don't have much time." Together, they devised a plan, combining Darren's piloting skills and Novak's scientific knowledge. The crew worked tirelessly to modify their weapons, racing against time as the Void Wraiths pressed their attack. In a daring counterattack, Darren led the charge, his ship diving headlong into the enemy formation. The modified weapons tore through the Void Wraiths' cloaks, exposing them to the full force of the task force's firepower. The battle was fierce and costly. Darren's ship sustained heavy damage, and casualties mounted on both sides. But in the end, the Void Wraiths were forced to retreat, their cloaking advantage nullified by the ingenuity of the human-alien alliance. As they limped back to friendly space, Darren and Novak shared a look of grim understanding. Their mission had only just begun, and the fate of the galaxy hung in the balance. They knew that their differences would be tested again and again in the battles to come. But for now they had earned a moment of respite. The crew, battered but unbroken, tended to their wounds and began the long process of repairs. Darren and Novak, their rivalry tempered by the crucible of combat, knew that they would need to find a way to work together if they hoped to succeed in the challenges that lay ahead. The Void Wraiths had been beaten back, but they were far from defeated. Somewhere out there in the vast expanse of the galaxy they were waiting, plotting their next move, and Darren and Novak, the unlikeliest of allies, would be there to meet them, adrenaline and intellect combined in a fight for the very future of the galaxy itself. As Darren and Novak ventured deeper into the uncharted reaches of space, a chilling revelation unfolded before them. Data streams flooded their ship's screens, each piece of information painting a more sinister picture than the last. The Void Wraiths, the mysterious and deadly foe they had been battling, were not a new alien race at all. They were a creation of the Xindi, engineered to sow chaos and destabilize the galactic order, paving the way for Xindi conquest. Darren's fists clenched as the truth sank in, his adrenaline rising. The Xindi's treachery knew no bounds. Novak, his eyes alight with a newfound determination, worked feverishly to compile the evidence. They had to warn the Council, expose the Xindi's plot, and put an end to their schemes once and for all. With a sense of urgency propelling them forward, Darren and Novak set course for the Council's headquarters, but as they dropped out of hyperspace, their hearts sank. The space around the Council station was a maelstrom of fire and destruction. Xindi ships swarmed like angry hornets, their weapons raining devastation upon the Council's beleaguered defenses. The Xindi had launched a surprise attack, and the Council's forces were on the verge of collapse. Darren didn't hesitate. He thrust the ship's throttle forward, his reflexes razor-sharp, his mind consumed by the rush of adrenaline. The ship dove into the fray, weapons blazing, shields straining under the onslaught. Darren weaved through the chaos, his instincts guiding him, his tactical genius finding weaknesses in the Xindi's formation. Novak, hunched over his console, worked tirelessly to find a way to turn the tide. And then it hit him, the key to unlocking the full potential of human adrenaline. With trembling hands, he inputted the final sequence, watching in awe as the formula materialized on the screen. A serum that could grant the Council's forces the same adrenaline-fueled abilities that coursed through Darren's veins. Darren's voice crackled over the comms, strained but determined. "Novak, we need a game-changer, and we need it now." Novak's reply was resolute. "I have it, Darren. A serum that can give our allies the edge they need, but we have to get it to them." The plan was daring, bordering on suicidal. Darren and Novak would lead a boarding party onto the Xindi flagship, fighting their way to the command center. They would confront the Xindi ambassador, expose his treachery, and end this conflict once and for all. As the boarding shuttle hurtled towards the Xindi flagship, Darren and Novak stood shoulder to shoulder, their gazes locked, their resolve unshakable. The shuttle shuddered as it breached the flagship's hull, the shriek of metal on metal filling the air. The moment the hatch blew open, Darren was moving, a blur of speed and fury. Xindi warriors poured into the breach, their weapons spitting fire, but Darren met them head-on. His adrenaline-enhanced strength made him an unstoppable force, his movements fluid and precise. He carved a path through the Xindi ranks, Novak close behind, the serum clutched tightly in his hand. They fought their way through the ship, a trail of broken bodies and sparking wreckage in their wake. Void wraiths, their forms twisted and grotesque, joined the fray, their unearthly shrieks echoing through the corridors. But Darren and Novak pressed on, driven by a purpose greater than themselves. The command center loomed before them, its doors sealed tight. Darren's fist, backed by the full might of his adrenaline, smashed through the barrier like it was made of paper. They stormed into the room, weapons drawn, eyes blazing with righteous fury. The Xindi ambassador stood before them, his face a mask of smug triumph. "You're too late," he sneered. "The void wraiths are already spreading across the galaxy, sowing the seeds of our conquest. And with your precious serum, we will create an army of adrenaline-enhanced Xindi soldiers, unstoppable and loyal to our cause." Darren's voice was a low growl, his grip tightening on his weapon. "Not if we have anything to say about it." The ambassador lunged forward, his own adrenaline-fueled strength a match for Darren's. They clashed in a brutal dance of fists and fury, trading blows that would have shattered bone and ruptured organs in any normal being. The room shook with the force of their battle, consoles sparking and shattering under the onslaught. Novak, seizing his chance, raced to the central computer, his fingers flying over the keys. He had to destroy the Xindi's research data, erase all traces of the serum before they could use it to create their twisted army. The seconds ticked by, each one an eternity, as he fought against the system's defenses. Darren and the ambassador's fight reached a crescendo, their bodies battered and bloody, their adrenaline reserves pushed to the limit. In a final, desperate move, Darren summoned the last of his strength and unleashed a devastating blow, sending the ambassador crashing to the floor, his body broken and still. But the victory was short-lived. Darren staggered, his hand pressed to his side, his flesh torn and bleeding. The ambassador's final strike had found its mark, a wound that even Darren's adrenaline could not overcome. Novak, his task complete, rushed to Darren's side, his face etched with anguish. Darren's breathing was shallow, his eyes unfocused, but he managed a weak smile. "You did it, Novak. You saved us all." With trembling hands, Novak helped Darren to his feet, supporting his weight as they made their way back to the shuttle. The Xindi flagship, its command structure in ruins, its research data destroyed, listed helplessly in space, a testament to the indomitable human spirit. As they docked with their own ship, Darren's strength finally gave out. He collapsed to the deck, his blood pooling beneath him. Novak knelt at his side, tears streaming down his face, his voice choked with emotion. Darren's hand found Novak's, his grip weak but insistent. "You have to lead them now, Novak, the task force, the council, the galaxy. They need you. Promise me you'll carry on the fight." Novak's reply was a solemn vow, a pledge that would shape the course of his life from that moment on. "I promise, Darren. Your legacy will live on through me, through all of us." Darren's eyes drifted closed, a final smile on his lips. He had given his life for the cause, for the dream of a galaxy united in peace and purpose, and as Novak cradled his fallen friend, he knew that the fight was far from over. The Council, in the aftermath of the battle, recognized the sacrifices made by Darren and his crew. They awarded him the highest honors, posthumously declaring him a hero of the galaxy. A new alliance was forged between humans and aliens, a testament to the power of unity and shared purpose. But as Novak took command of the task force, as he stood on the bridge of his ship and stared out into the vast expanse of space, a nagging doubt crept into his mind. The Xindi ambassador had been defeated, but something told him that the true mastermind behind the conflict remained at large, hidden in the shadows, plotting their next move. The battle for the galaxy's future had only just begun, and Novak knew that he would have to be ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. Armed with the knowledge and power of human adrenaline, he would carry on Darren's legacy, fighting for the dream of a galaxy united in peace and purpose. You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.